No,
But
no
first,
worries.
seriously, thank you so much for your time. Like, this really means so much to us. We've
Oh
been
yeah.
following your podcast for like a while now, so this is like a big deal.
No, you're anytime. I'm happy to do this kind of stuff. I love seeing people like kind of starting their own thing too. So I'm happy to help any way I can.
Yes. Okay, so we've got just like some general questions for you.
Okay.
So first, what made you start your podcast?
So for me, I kind of got started doing like Instagram and things like that initially. I
Okay.
mean, to really give you like all the background story, for me it was kind of one of those things that I wanted to find a way to keep up with my continuing education after school, and
Mhm.
so I was just trying to think of ways that I could do that easily, and so I knew that if I started something like a social media account that I would put out new content, for me
Mhm.
personally, it would be something that would kind of keep me accountable because I knew once I started it, I wouldn't want to be one of those people that started it and stopped it 3 months later and never did anything with it. So
Right.
it was just one of those things that for me it started that way. It was really for myself. I didn't expect it to go anywhere or grow anywhere. I mean, I literally my first post I think got one, I always make this joke. My first post got 1 like, and I'm pretty sure it was my wife, and so it was like a straight up pity like, and so I mean I never thought it would go into anywhere. And then as that started to grow, I started to do stuff with Facebook and blogs and just different avenues. It just kind of seemed like the next transition into it. And so it just kind of turned into the podcast. And I use the Instagram and stuff as kind of a supplement now to that. But yeah, that's how it really originally started with just social media for myself, basically, and then grew from there.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, did you have like a mentor, anybody like helping you? No.
YouTube, YouTube is my mentor.
Okay, yeah. So that's what I was gonna ask. Because honestly, we're pretty naive to the podcasting world and to like all the tech that would require. So do you have any like good videos or like you said you watched YouTube videos? Did you follow anybody specifically that really aided in that process?
Not really specifically. I mean, I can definitely point you to some, but let me ask you this: as far as just getting started, is the podcast the main thing you want to get started with?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of a budget are you working with? Realistically.
Yeah, so that was our other question. So on campus, we have like a podcasting sort of studio that you can rent out. But of course, like we're kind of thinking of continuing this
Mm-hmm.
for a longer time than we're going to be here. So that's something we're definitely going to look into. Um, but we haven't discussed really how much we'd be willing to put into it yet. So that was going to be one of our questions actually is like, what would be
Reasonable.
yeah, like a reasonable amount of money to be considering.
So it all depends. I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, if you have a studio already ready to go as students, as long as you can make the quality sound pretty decent, which most likely you can in a setting like that, that's really, I mean, that would be good to go to get started with. Now, once you graduate and you're making the big bucks, then, you can obviously get as elaborate as you want.
Yeah.
But as far as, getting started, really the main cost upfront besides the equipment, which if the school has it, then use theirs, is the hosting. So in order to get the actual episode out to the different platforms, so like Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, all that, you have to have a host that pushes it to them. And so the easiest way to do it, and there's several different ways you can do this. The website that I like the most is called Libsyn. So libsyn.com.
Okay.
And they have all kinds of different pricing strategies. So me personally, I am on one that allows me, I think it's like $40 a month is what I pay. And I have way more space than I actually would need. So I probably could get away with even like maybe 20 a month. And I'm making hour-long episodes at least once a week. And plus I use it for other things as well. So you could probably start off with like $10 a month or even 20 a month at the most. And then, I mean, which is pretty reasonable, split 3 ways kind of thing. And the reason why I say use them is because, and there's others as well, but the reason I like them is because they will send out your information or your podcast, what they call an RSS feed, which has all the information from your audio file, plus your website and all that.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, sorry. So it'll send out all your information that you record, and it will basically send it out to all the platforms for you. So like when I first started, I had to literally put in an application to like iHeartRadio and Spotify.
Jeez.
Some of them were easy. Like Spotify at the time was really hard to like get them. I applied like 60 times and they finally like let me on there. Now you can push a button on Spotify and it like lets you on. So it's because they have a contract with Libsyn, and so one of their members can get on their platform, and then.
Okay.
So that's it. Plus you get stats on everything. So as you do start to grow, it actually breaks it down by like how many unique downloads you get per episode, how many unique downloads you get per month. It even has it separated into like countries. So like I can literally see like I have like 3 people in like Iran that listen to my podcast.
Nice.
So like it shows every single country. So our goal right now is to try to see if we can get one person in every country, and we're like probably 3/4, maybe a little bit more of the way there. So
that's awesome.
And so you can, and then from there, like if you click on the United States, you can actually see which states actually, because I'm in South Carolina, but my biggest podcast like listening group is actually in California, which is weird. Yeah, thanks for South Carolina having my back. But that's like number, I think, 3 or 4. And then New York is a big one, California, which makes sense where all the people are. But those are big ones. And then like other random states, Australia, of like country-wise, is like number 4 or 5. And I actually got a message from somebody from them on Instagram saying that he even said "Good day, mate," like on the actual message, which I thought was funny. And he said that he like listens to out there, like him and some of the students in the class that he's in listen to him out there, and so that was really cool. But you can see that on like the actual map that they have. So it just gives you a lot of tools. So as you start to grow and you start to talk about maybe like sponsorship or just for your own, knowledge. And so you can give, shout outs to people in other countries and stuff like that, which is cool. You can kind of see exactly where that's coming from, which is helpful. So, it's more, there's other sites that have like just hosting and they might give you a little bit of stats, but it's just not the same, at least that I've found that it's the same as Libsyn. Libsyn seems to be the one that's very easy to use and get access to all the different areas. They like when Amazon came out with their podcasting thing, Libsyn just uploaded it so that now automatically all mine go to Amazon as well as all the other ones that it normally does.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a good one to check out.
Yeah, we'll definitely check that out. What advice do you have for us as far as like narrowing down our audience and coming to like a general topic of our podcast?
So, I mean, one, I would say it's between you 3 as far as, is it just you 3 that are doing it, or do you have other people that are involved?
We have one more, but we're not sure like how serious she is.
Okay. So, I mean, the big thing is find something that y'all are interested in, because you guys have school going on, you have, be working and doing all this other stuff as time goes on. So it's going to get to the point where you have a lot of things going on in your life. And so you don't want this to be something that's like, kind of burden. Like for me, it's fun. So like, I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And so and again, there's no right way of doing like content and stuff. My personal thought process was I didn't want to be narrowed down on like any, because some other people like that have like pharmacy podcast type things like networks and whatnot had approached me about coming and working with them a little bit. My only problem with this is I didn't want to be a pharmacy podcast. Even though I am a pharmacist, I wanted to make it to where there's only so many pharmacists in the United States and other countries. And so I didn't want it to like kind of pigeonhole myself into a corner where I only was saying stuff that's relevant to pharmacists. So I made mine kind of like pharmacotherapy so that physicians, PAs, because I teach for PA school. So I wanted something my PA students could listen to and not just my PharmD students. And so I wanted it to be like as broad as I possibly could. Now there's other people who like, have you guys heard of RX Radio, Richard Waith's podcast?
I think so. Did you speak on his?
Yeah, he's a good buddy of mine.
Yes, I think that I listened. That's actually how I found you is from, he does a lot of like different branches of pharmacy, doesn't he?
So that's his niche. Like he likes to talk about different avenues you could go that are kind of like outside the box, so to speak, but that's his thing. And like I said, I personally didn't want to go that route because I feel like eventually I'd have a hard time coming up with stuff versus like pharmacotherapy, it changes every year anyway. So there's no way I'm ever going to get to the end of it.
Right.
So, but again, if you have something that you're super passionate about, it could be women's health. It could be, oncology. It could be whatever you want to talk about, how to have a I think am I frozen again? Yeah. Okay. How to have,
Yeah.
I figured I saw y'all stop for a second. You could be how to have how to have like balance as a student. I mean, there's lots of different things you could, but it's got to be something that interests y'all. I mean, don't look at it from like it could be as narrow or as wide as you want, but you guys have to like it. The people will be there. There's always going to be people who like the same stuff as you. So don't try to like find areas that like, I mean, there's some people now that like love my podcast, and there's other people who think we go on way too many tangents and they hate it. I mean, and that's, I'm like, exactly. And so you just have to figure out like what you guys like and enjoy, and then do it as if one person or no people are going to ever listen to it. What would you guys have fun making?
Yeah.
And then go from that. Then the rest of it will handle itself. People will listen. It doesn't matter if you're talking about Smurfs for 5 hours. There's going to be someone's grandma who freaking loves Smurfs, and they're going to be going to be all about your podcast. So that's really like the way I kind of came about it. And again, there's no right or wrong answer to that. So I'm always hesitant to like give advice on like what you should talk about, because that's completely up to you. I mean, if you're having fun with it, the content will be good, and then we'll go from there.
So you said you kind of started on social media at first and then started doing the podcasting. So how did you like really get your podcast out there?
So at the time I had a little bit of a social media following, not much. I had built it up to around probably 2,000 followers, maybe. I don't know where my timeline is. I've kind of lost track at this point, but somewhere around there. So when it got started, it really was slow. I mean, we would put every episode, like we do a preview of it on Instagram or something. We would put it on LinkedIn, Facebook, really any single place you could possibly like get information out there. We're looking right now at like how we can make like where we've screwed up, and then we don't edit any of the podcasts, so we say stupid things sometimes. And so I'm trying to like look at how when we say something dumb, we can put that on TikTok, since TikTok's exploding right now.
Yeah,
and
TikTok
just, and it gives me tons of entertainment to watch, but I'm not that creative, so I got to think of like ways that I can use it, for what we're doing. Really, anywhere where there's eyes, put it there. Being on other people's podcasts, it helps get, you saw me on Richard's podcast. So being guest spots, and you can cross pollinate where he, would come on my podcast, I would go on his, and we would kind of share, audiences like that. And then it really just grows. To be honest with you, I mean, I feel like just yesterday we were to the point where I was getting ecstatic when we had 100 people download our podcast. I mean, it was nuts to me. 100 people, you put them in a room, that's ridiculous. That 100 people give a crap what I have to say. And so now we get around 20,000 a month, and it's like, I mean, that's insane. I don't know who these crazy people are listening to me, but it's like, that's nuts. That's like mind blowing to me. So it just sort of happened. Like, I don't remember it just increased every month. I mean, that's kind of how it ended up. We never really thought about like, okay, how many people are listening, or is this where, to me, if it was like 5 people that could listen, one of those people might have an uncle that's the president of, APHA. You don't know. And,
True,
and that's kind of what it's led to for us, is like all these different opportunities and things like that I got my teaching job, teaching PA school. I never would have guessed I'd be doing that. I got hired on at 28, I think I was, to teach PA school. I was like, on paper, I was like, I hope no one tells them that this is like a major mistake on their part. But like, they liked the innovative idea I had for like educating. And so they gave me a shot, and then I worked my face off for them so that I did well. And then they keep hiring me. So, it's one of those things that it doesn't really matter how many people, as long as some people are listening, word of mouth will take over if it's good.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing, is just, to start off. And then as you keep growing, look for new ways constantly of where you can put stuff. Twitter, I mean, wherever you can think of, wherever has eyeballs, Reddit. I mean, there's so many different platforms now. Just put it everywhere. I mean, you don't have to be obnoxious. That's not the right word, but kind of. And also know that there's going to be some people who don't like it and are going to say stuff. I've gotten, people have said something. I think it's hilarious, but people that try to like say like stuff about me, or like say the podcast is dumb or this and the other. I'm like, if it's, to me, that's funny, because they're taking the time out of their life to actually comment on my stuff, which is, defeating the purpose anyway. But it just gives me extra views. But, I mean, know that's coming, and then don't worry about that, because that's going to be out there. Those are obviously people with poison in their lives because they need to comment on something you guys are doing. And then know that it's going to be the majority of people, especially in the medical world, are going to support it. Hey, I'm frozen again. I can tell.
Frozen again.
Yeah, frozen. There's going to be people in the medical world that will always support it. And so it will grow over time. You just have to be patient with it and just have fun with it. The more fun you have, you won't even think about the numbers and you'll just see them start to grow.
Yeah. Nice. I think that answers all of our questions. Y'all have any questions?
I think we've covered everything, but thank you again for taking the time out.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Yes, seriously.
Let me ask you this too before you go. Do you guys do anything with social media at all right now, even like with your personal accounts or anything like that? Any experience with it?
We have Instagram and stuff. Mm-hmm.
So that's an easy way to kind of get started as far as, do you guys have any idea what kind of content you're going to talk about? Like any ideas are bouncing around?
We've thought about different ideas. Like we've thought about just because we're only second years, and I don't even think I introduced you guys, but this is Carson, this is Maria, and I'm Emily. But so we're second years, and so ideally, if we do continue this, like later in the future, I think we'd want to do like pharmacotherapy based episodes. But right now, I feel like our knowledge is pretty limited, and so it's very hard where we are at in our curriculum. It's kind of hard to filter out certain trials and like new data that's coming out. So I don't feel like we could do those type of episodes yet. I feel like right now it would have to just be like things that are going on at our university, or we could have guest speakers come talk about, you know, what they teach or what they do in life, like stuff like that.
So again, it's just my opinion, but I think don't get caught up on the whole I'm just a P2 thing, because you guys know more than P1s, right?
That's true.
In theory. So there's a whole lot of P1s in the country and in other countries. Yeah, so the way I look at it is, if you guys have questions about things that are coming up in pharmacotherapy or rotations 4th year, you go to the upperclassmen, right?
Yeah.
So you all can be that for everybody in the country as opposed to just the people in your school. So yes, your knowledge will grow over time and your ability to like analyze data and stuff like that will grow and should grow. If you listen to the stuff that we were putting out when I first started this in the very beginning of 2018, I like to think that it's a lot better now. So, because my knowledge has grown, that's always going to happen. But you guys, as you're going through classes, you're doing, whether it's pharmacotherapy, like regular pharmacology, medicinal chemistry, whatever classes you're doing, you can find topics of that interest you. And you can, I mean, you guys, y'all, I'm sure, make study guides or some kind of things like that. All of that information you can literally turn into content to put online. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing that says that's the school kind of like old school mentality of like, oh, y'all are here, down here. Don't talk about this stuff until you get to here and you have this magical letters after your name that say PharmD and then you're special. That's nonsense. You're talking like, it's only just, I mean, double check yourself. And then if you ever say, there's plenty of things that I've said that aren't 100% accurate, and then I'll go and put out what's the word I'm looking for? Fix what I said and explain where I messed up. I was trying to think of a better word than that. But explain what I said wrong. That stuff will happen, and it always will happen regardless of how many letters you have to have after your name or what you've done or residencies and all that stuff. So if you do like the idea of pharmacotherapy and that you all think that would kind of help you along the way in school, go for it. Like don't shy away from, because we're only P2s, we shouldn't do that. I have 2 students that I worked with a while ago that started the same way y'all are in school. They were down in Florida, and they started an infectious disease podcast, back when they were P3s, which again, on paper, that doesn't mean they don't have any business doing that because they're not infectious disease specialists, they're P3s, and their podcast is doing well. Now they're both on PGY2 infectious disease residents. So, it's because they love that. So they kept doing it, because there's going to come a time where you have so much information you're supposed to be studying. You might as well kind of use that information you're already studying and knowing about for a test to put on there.
So if we do choose to go that route, I know sometimes you like cite your sources at the podcast. Like, do you think we would have to cite our professors like PowerPoints and stuff?
No, I mean, don't like rip it off word for word, but put it in your words. And then I mean, if I teach you about, our last episode was on rheumatoid arthritis. If I talk about rheumatoid arthritis. So like if I talk about rheumatoid arthritis and then you hear 3 other people who aren't me talk about it, it's all going to be kind of the same. It's not like I have these elaborate, crazy ideas that are that nobody else knows about. I mean, it's all out there. If, it's one of those things that, if you have access to like up to date and all, I don't know which pharmacotherapy textbook you use. I don't know if it's DePiro's or what, but whatever your information's out there. I mean, so does every other pharmacy student in the country and other countries have access to that. So, I mean, again, don't steal them word for word or put their slide sets or anything out there, but put it in your own words or your own study guides. I've seen students make the most incredible study guides of all time, like artistically.
Really
And I
the best study guides.
like I couldn't my study guides. You would think like, who is this? It's like ninth grader that made this ridiculous thing.
I'm just rewriting their PowerPoints.
That's what mine are terrible. And so like when I see someone who's like very artistic and like creative with with their study guides, I'm like, well, what do you do with this afterwards? And they just throw it on a bookshelf or they throw it away. I'm like, make this digital and put it on LinkedIn. Like that's the easiest way possible and less time consuming because you've already done it. You've already done all the work. You have to do it anyway. You're paying a lot of money to do this work and might as well, use it and create a name for yourself ahead of time. So yeah, long story short, I don't let the whole P2 thing, regardless of who tells you otherwise. I'm telling you right now, I'm giving you permission. I don't care. I know more than they do. And it's whoever tells you not to do that. It doesn't matter. Be honest. Like, don't try to front and act like you're a specialist and this, that, and the other. If you hear me and Cole joke, we always will bring up, basically, since we are, we have so much authority to be talking about it. We joke about what we don't know. Right. And we never try to pretend like we're something that we're not. Be upfront with the fact y'all are P2s. Like, that's nothing wrong with that. I don't expect a P2 if I'm listening to it to literally blow my mind with their knowledge of pharmacotherapy. If they do, it's a problem. Yeah. But I could definitely see a P2 that I would be going through a disease state and I would be very impressed by because they're doing that. Like it's happened many times. So that's what you have to focus on is not so much just don't do the whole fake it till you make it nonsense. That's garbage. People who know what they're talking about will see right through that. So be honest, because for you guys, it'll basically be like a documentation of like your journey through pharmacy school and also provide content because eventually you'll be having this conversation with 3 other, young P2s 5-6 years down the road, and then you'll be able to give them the advice. I mean, it'll be people will literally follow you through, over the course of your pharmacy career and into residency or whatever you're going to do. And, that'll add more to the story of just learning because then it'll be like more, people will think they like know you basically. And, plus you get to meet all people like I do all the time, like, people you never would have met otherwise.
Right.
And so you'll be surprised at how quickly people will start to like almost follow your story as well as content, especially if you add that, realism to it as far as like, I'm just not feeling it today. I don't feel like studying. I'm not always, in a great mood and just super motivated. I have, I feel like playing Xbox today. It is what it is, and, put something out there that shows you as a human being too, because everybody struggles with that stuff and everybody tries to act like this, public relations version of themselves online. That's why we don't edit anything. Because the way I talk, like in real life, I grew up surfing, so I say dude and bro, and I talk like a dork. So like, I talk like that in my podcast because that's how I talk. Like, I don't want someone to see me outside of the medical world and then think, oh, he's not like I expected. He's not professional at all. What you see with me is what you get. I'm the same person I am on like my podcast as I am anywhere else. Like, that's just who I am. And some people think, there's some people that think I'm super unprofessional with stuff, and I don't, whatever. I don't care about those people. But it's just one of those things that if you do you and make it as real as possible, people will like it for sure, regardless of what you are in school. And you'll be surprised at how much content you actually can make, even as a P2, just a P2.
Well, thank you so much for that encouragement.
Yeah, no, for sure. So what I would say is then if that is a route that you're interested in, want to start going that route, or at least toying with the idea of going that route, I would start off making a page on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, or all the above. I would say do as much as you can because the more eyeballs the better, and then make some kind of initial content or post. It could even be a video. The first episode explaining why you wanted to kind of do this and get started, make some content around that as well, like for Instagram and Facebook and all those social media platforms. And then let's say you're doing an episode on hypertension, put out content that has to do, or whatever you decide to do. Hopefully it be something you're going on, studying in pharmacotherapy anyway. Do some basically take your study guide, chop it all up to things you could put out there that other people could use, whether it's a table or whatever. And then that's it. Unfrozen. And then and then use that on Instagram and stuff to kind of push the content to get people interested, and say the rest of the full episodes on our podcast, check it out. And then just constantly use that to kind of advertise for yourself. And then you'll as things grow and it gets better, you'll get more and more used to it, to where now I have like a system to where I don't even think about it. If I publish a podcast episode, I throw it out here, I take little snippets, put it on Twitter, I do this, I'll post questions on whatever it is. And you just get used to it, but just try different things, and you'll drive people over to your podcast to listen to it. But that's kind of like the gateway drug is your social media stuff to get them interested.
Okay. Yes, good advice. We'll definitely try and get on that.
Cool. And then as you get started, let me know what I can do to help. If you want like advice on technical advice, yes, I can show you YouTube videos, but I'm also happy to just show you how to upload stuff as well. I mean, I don't have a problem doing that. It's probably a lot quicker if I just show you instead of you having to like search through hours of video. So I have no problem. Like you said, you keep saying I'm busy and stuff. I am, but I like this stuff a lot. So I'm more than happy, and I'm always willing to help people who are willing to work hard and like try new things. And I like innovation a lot. So if you three trying this kind of stuff, I'm all for it. I'll help you out any way I can, because I love this kind of stuff. The majority of students do the same old nonsense over and over and over again. And they want to pad their CV with just the same old cookie cutter stuff that everybody does. So when I see people that are trying to think outside the box, I'm like 100%, I will help you any way I can, because that's what I want to support.
Yes. Thank you so much.
So,
can we get a picture of you and then give you like a shout out on Instagram?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know how we're going to do this.
Okay, got it. Well, thank you so much again. We'll definitely be in touch as we
you have my number, and y'all can all three. I mean, just share my number if you want. If you guys ever have questions, let me know. And then send me a message on Instagram once you guys get started, and I'll make sure I add you guys, and then run you through my stuff as well, and give you a shout out and let everybody know what you're doing.
Yes, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
We really appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime. Seriously, let me know if I can help in any way. Okay.
Oh, we will for sure.
All right. All right, y'all. Have a great night. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.